buddy. Well, oh my
Welcome to our
god.
serious show.
A very serious show where we have a very serious desk, everyone. No smiles allowed. This is all very serious. Anyway, we are here once again for this week of the Faceit Frenzy, and it's gonna be one heck of a fun one. It's been a great week, and joining me this time, as always, first of all, Dexatron and Dex. It's been a crazy week already, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, hell, we're going to get into some of the stuff that happened yesterday here, but it's already been a wild week for Faceit.
Yep, 100%. Has enjoying the desk once again. Back, Mutt and Ava. Lovely to have you here as always.
Of course, love to be here. Thank you so much for having me back on for the Faceit Frenzy.
Yep. Super excited to have you here, but on for the very first time, Hyper joining us. In Hyper, we got well, sort of worked together very recently with the Copa America. Was a lot of fun, and I'm happy to have you here for the very first time.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I love yapping esports, so it's awesome to have a great group of people to do it with.
Well, trust me, there is plenty of yapping to do and not enough time to yap about it, let me tell you, because there's a ton of stuff I want to be able to go through, get some of our predictions, how we feel, things we want to see in the future, but before that, we do have to go to the very near past here for a moment, because anybody who was not living under a rock might have seen that game last night between Ex Oblivione and Nightmare, where Ex Oblivione, they won it in map 5 fashion, but not just in map 5 fashion. They committed the reverse sweep to stay as one of the very few undefeated teams still remaining in North America Masters, and that's an incredible game that went down. Dex, you and I got to cover it live. Mott, you also managed to cover it as well. So Dex, I'm going to start over you. Go left to right. Thoughts on that game? Because, I mean, did you think the reverse sweep was going to be pulled off going into that third map?
I mean, as we kind of talked about last night, I thought there was a small chance of it, but Ex Oblivione needed to get off to a much better start than what they did in the first two maps. And granted, map 3 through 5, they got off to that better start. And I mean, I even said last night, this is a series I want to see 2 more times this season. It doesn't matter when in the playoffs they meet. I hope they meet twice. Because it was just that good. This is what the kind of stuff you want here in Faceit League, especially Masters Tier, especially with the playful banter, I put in air quotes, that we were seeing in the chat last night.
Oh god, Matt, I want your opinions on the game, but honestly, knowing you, I also want your opinion on the banter because there was so much of it.
I love banter. I love shit talk. So the game being a reverse sweep, like it was a movie. If you were not there on our stream, on my stream, or on you guys' stream, on my stream, on Bullskunk stream, on everyone, their mother was streaming that game for a good reason. We knew it was gonna be a good series, right? It got rescheduled to Tuesday. We were like, you know what? We're all free Tuesday night. We're gonna go watch this game real quick. Little game. Maybe it gave 3-0 for one of these teams because they were both undefeated, by the way. So again, it was so important. Such a really, really great series. And you guys are right. Like when Ex Oblivione were finally able to wake up a little bit and they kind of got into the rhythm of what they wanted to play, especially kind of diving down and digging against the constant Malga that we would constantly see from Nightmare. They just shut it down. Same thing with the Malga and also the Cat Bastion. They found ways to stop that comp from getting so much value. You saw in Circuit Royale that both of the hybrid escort maps went overtime to rounds 3 and 4. Like, it was insane. And again, the banter, the smack talk that was happening. Shout out to Kyo, who was the smack talker of the night last night, who was playing Cassidy, of course, for Ex Oblivione. He was just in there, reverse sweeping coming, when they won Runasapi, and we just kept on going and nagging at them. I think it might have gotten to Nightmare a tiny bit, because by the time we got to New Junk City, map 5, or was map 5 New Junk City? I believe so, right?
Yes.
3-1? Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
It just felt like the tide had shifted so far for Ex Oblivione based off of just the amount of smack talk and getting under Nightmare's skin that they were able to uphold. They were there. They had it at that point. They won mentally. They all had to do was finish out strong, and they sure did.
No, they 100% did. And oh no, go ahead, Dex, if you have more to add.
I will say this. EXO, especially Kyo, was counting down every point they won. The moment
Yes.
Nightmare responded back after they won that third point, I have to agree with you. You know right there, they kind of broke them a little bit. It had gotten them just a little bit.
Honestly, it did, and the banter was so fun to see. And Hyper, I know you've heard of what we talked about. You've seen the stats. You've seen everything there is for that game. I mean, in general, is this a game that while you didn't, see it in person, when you eventually saw it, hey, it ended up being a map 5 reverse sweep, were you like, yeah, that's not surprising, or were you excited to see that this thing actually went the distance and wasn't a unfortunate dud?
I mean, honestly, it's one of those electric, like, games that if I had the opportunity to watch, even if replay codes, I definitely would. I love going to the more analytical side of things, like going back to even matches I've already casted because it's the memory of a goldfish, and I'll try and figure out what went right, what went wrong. And if it wasn't for the replay code wipe, I would be watching this game and breaking it down as much as I could, like on stream today. I mean, because it is not one I expected. To be honest, I expected it to be although be it a close 3 maps, I expected it to be a 3-0 sweep for NTMR. I mean, this core that's been together for so long, the names that are on it, albeit maybe one under a different alias, but it is. I mean, it's an incredible group of players, and with the likes of like Urzo backing them, and like you mentioned the stats, it was close until it wasn't. To put it like simply, like it felt like it was going to be that close every single map kind of thing until we started to edge towards Runesapi and New Junk City, when like you were talking about that kind of trash talk, whether it was respectful or not and well meant or not, it did, I think, start to get under their skin. I think Overwatch is like 50% mental, and I think that definitely played a part into it.
I think it definitely did as well. It might have been the most trash talk I've seen from a game this season. Well, 100%. Maybe the most I've seen in the last couple of seasons as well. And there's been like the fun little banter here and there where it's like one person one side, one person the other. But no, it was all over the board for that day. I'm not going to forget the accidental GGs after map 2. That's going to stay in the brain for
That
a while.
That woke up EXO.
I don't blame them though. That was like overtime a boring brain rotting circuit royale. I also was like, oh, this is only game 2. I can't blame them for the early GGs. I would have been like, we're done. I would have been done after the fact.
Oh my god, yeah. But Hyper brings up an interesting point. And we talk about how reliable I think both these squads really are. And the cool thing about it is that there is a lot of reliable, very talented squads this season. Because remember, this is the last Faceit season of the year where you can qualify to get into OWCS, to those promo relegation games. So everybody is going all out trying to get in there. And I want to hear from all of y'all, and I'll give my own opinion on this, about who kind of is one of your favorites right now. It doesn't have to be the be-all and end-all. We're not going to clip this and play it a month down the line. But I just want to have your thoughts. Who do you see as a team that's going to get to the very end of this all with the playoffs? And this time I'll go right to left with this one. Hyper, I'll come over to you. Just in your mind, who's one of your favorites to get to the end of this?
So I could be so incredibly biased. But I am going to put that bias aside. Although I do think Extinction, this current squad, not only have they started out the season a bit rough with that loss against NTMR, I think showing the strength of NTMR, but with that sweep over Leica just the other day, I think that shows how much they've kind of started to grow already. But as I said, that bias aside, I initially thought NTMR was going to be like the team to beat, but kind of getting more hands-on, hearing some more stuff behind the scenes, and kind of being able to watch more of these games. Leica and the current Avidity roster, I think both look incredibly strong, and Leica has some insane potential. I think this is a team that genuinely they take Disguise's spot in OWCS. Like in season, I think they can easily get to that level.
That's crazy. I mean, Mott, is there some agreeance here, or is there another team you're looking at as your favorite right now?
So I've always been very like, Nightmare is actually one of my favorite orgs. Even before they were before they actually were able to play in OWCS, and when they were just in Masters and everything like that. And Nightmare Academy was my favorite team. Nightmare Rotation. I mean, all the Nightmare spin-offs were always my favorite. But this season, truly, and I really do think I had to agree with Hyper here. Leica, I watched their game. I believe on Mondays when I watched their game. And I will say I am a little biased because I had watched so many of these players play in Calling All Heroes, which is very much, as you guys know, very near and dear to my heart. So watching these players play in Calling All Heroes and be so successful, again, Winter and Hitori and people like that were on Calling All Heroes, who all also play in the Master Division of Faceit, and half them being in Leica anyway, and what Leica stands for, they are pretty much my favorite team to not only get into playoffs, but have a genuine shot at making it to the grand finals. Whether or not it's with Nightmare, whether it's with EXO, whether it's with Extinction, all three of which I think have a high contender rate of getting to playoffs and getting to a top 4 spot. I think Leica's going to be definitely one to look for as we get deeper and deeper into the season.
I definitely agree. And Dex, we'll kind of end on your point right here, because I think there's some big favorites. It's not as one note as maybe some seasons have been in the past, where it's like, this feels like the favorite team, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you go back to last season, I feel like a lot of people before the season thought that was Team Z. That was the favorite going into it. And granted, they kept up a really good thing with that, but then they got knocked out first round by the 8th seed because they went in as the #1 seed. But still, I think we're very early on in the season. I really do like Leica from what I've seen from them, but I don't necessarily... I want to see more from them. You have Himaru, you have Avidity, who has gone off to a very sluggish start, granted 2-2, and I think those 2 losses are to 2 teams who are also like really good. Like, you could kind of go 50-50 coin flip in any way with that series. But you look at EXO, in my opinion. I think everyone looked at EXO last season as a team that should have been a big contender, but for the first half of last season was a big disappointment. Founded their stride towards the back half, and I think with the slight changes they made coming into this season here, I think they're a much better team, and I really do think you have to look at EXO here for the rest of this season. And Hunter, I mean, we even said it last night, whether I've said it on stream or after it, those 2 rosters we saw last night, I think are OWCS like caliber rosters. They have built them for that competition.
I think they 100% have too. And there are teams that are like definitively built for that reason. Again, I bring up the point, last chance to get in, Stage 3 is going to be coming up not too far away. There are the orgs trying to get through, trying to make that big push, because the next season or 2 after this, there's not going to be those kinds of opportunities as heavily as they are in this season right here. And kind of shouting out one really quick myself before we move on to our next topic. I mean, this is a squad that kind of got near and dear to my heart last season, and that's the current Amplify. I think they've had serious upswing potential last season. I think they've had a really good start this season, and as we talked about before we went live, they have a bit of a relentless gauntlet coming up here, so we're going to see very quickly if they really are favorites. But even just winning like 1 or 2 of these big games, I think makes them a really serious contender. They've gone off to a good start, kind of running the gauntlet. A lot of the expert teams have come up as well, so hey, I think they've got a shot, but I think all these teams honestly have every shot in the world. And we've been surprised throughout the seasons in terms of who actually, performs well versus who actually makes it to the end, to that top 2 of playoffs. But we're kind of talking about all these teams and all the amazing matches they have already had. I want to hear from all of y'all really quick before we start on some predictions about a game that maybe has yet to happen you would love to see, or maybe a game that has already happened that you really want to see a rematch of. This time, we're starting in the middle, Mott. We're going to go with you on this one. Just coming to mind here, is there a rematch or just a match that hasn't happened that you want to see yet?
There actually is a rematch I would like to see again, and this is I just had it, so it's so fresh in my head. I was just talking about Leica. It's the Leica Extinction game that we had recently, where Leica or Extinction 1-3-1 against Leica. But that game was so good. Hyper, you know that game was good. You were there, right? Yeah, you were there.
It was electric. It was electric.
It was a good game. And I do think that game really could have gone either way. So if in the future, whether it's a playoff match, whether it's next season, whatever happens, right, I would love to see those two rosters go back at it and just go tooth for tooth, nail for nail in a rematch.
No, that's pretty, honestly, that's one that unfortunately I didn't get the chance to see in person. I'm really sad I did. There have been some bangers throughout the season already, and Hyper, we talk about these amazing games that Extinction has already had. It could be about Extinction, it could not be about Extinction. What about you? What's a game that you're really hoping to see either for the first time or maybe a rematch?
My real answer is the same as Marty's. Is that Extinction Leica rematch? But I think the easy answer doesn't really exist. I think especially between the top, I'd say current top 6, 17. Okay, God, the current playoff eligible teams. I think are very very keen for kind of those coin toss like matchups. But given the you must choose, I have 2 that I have my eye on. One would be the new Amplify versus Grimoire. I think that would just be a nice you know, there's some reason behind that. And I think another one would be an end of season Extinction in TMR rematch. I think that would be a great gauge to see not only how far NTMR have come and if they, or rather what they have learned or picked up, but also to gauge how far Extinction has come. I kind of said, of course, again, I'm a little biased, how much I've already seen them kind of grow as a team. And I think already, although they got 3-0'd by NTMR first week, first match, I think that result will already be quite significantly different, if not at least closer.
I think you're 100% right. And there are some games that will have different results when you have that month gap, because not only does the game change, but teams obviously develop further with each other, because not all 16 teams we have here in Master Tier have been playing with each other for months, and some of them are a lot newer of squads that might be familiar, but don't necessarily have that experience with each other yet. Dex, though, we go to you on this one. Again, we've had some bangers already. What are you thinking in terms of matches that you want to see?
Well, I already said I want to see Nightmare and EXO again. However, I'm going to look ahead here. There's a couple games I want to see, and especially from a team we haven't talked about here yet tonight, Himuru Fan Club. They have Leica on Sunday, and then they end the season with Nightmare. I think those are going to be 2 very good games. Himuru Fan Club is still one of the only undefeated teams. Granted, only played, I believe, 2 or 3 games, so still very early on in their season. But still, that is a very talented roster right there. We didn't give them any love when it came to the early favorites here. We kind of tiptoed around them in the standings. But that is still a really good roster. And I think Leica on Sunday, and like I said, especially that Nightmare game right at the end of the season for them, is going to be big, kind of, not necessarily ones where we can gauge how good they are, because we know how good they are, but it's going to tell us what type of team they are this season, especially against some of the other great competition that's out there.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, there's some games I'm definitely excited for, and unfortunately, a lot of them are quite a ways away. On the 24th, we've got Amplify taking on EXO. That looks like so much fun, especially if Amplify keeps going, continuing the run they've been having. In a game that I think going into the season, maybe people on paper would not think it would be close. But if Iliad Artemis keeps momentum going, I would love to see this game against Leica. Leica is definitely a tough team, but Artemis have been playing like a top 8 team to start the season. They've been doing really cool things, so if they have momentum, that could be a seriously interesting game. And I'm hoping to see it. I don't know if we have other Iliad Artemis believers in the chat right now, or even here on the desk quite yet. But listen, they've had a good start, all right? Listen, I can't say anything about them quite yet, honestly.
I think they have always had that underdog aspect to them. Their ability to keep their mental in it and go for reverse sweeps is genuinely immaculate and scary.
Okay, cool. But no, I mean, you're 100% right. It's always scary because there are games that they shouldn't have won last season that they won. Games they should have won that they definitely didn't. So it's one of those teams that can definitely be very back and forth. But I'd be happy to talk about these future games, but we gotta talk about the games that are going on today. And as I'm looking at the time, we're gonna speed run some predictions here with some of the games going on here tonight. Hey, trust me, we have 9 minutes. We'll get it done in time. It'll all be good. So let's go ahead and start with the first one we have on the list. Vivacity is taking on Dark Mode in one of our big matchups here tonight. And for both these teams, honestly, it feels like a win that they pretty badly need because, I mean, Vivacity definitely not off to a good start. In Dark Mode, one of the few teams to not have a win under their belt yet. Dex, go to you first on this one. Vivacity versus Dark Mode. Who do you got and why?
Dark Mode. It's Dark Mode. I love Vivacity. If Unchanged was here, maybe this pick would be a little bit different, but Unchanged is not here. But I have to go Dark Mode. I just think, again, that talent is... The talent that's on that roster just hasn't performed just yet, but I think they've also had a couple tough games to get started with this season. Iliad Artemis was probably the one that we were looking at saying, like, okay, we're going to figure out a lot about this team there. And Iliad Artemis plays really well against them, beats them. But I think tonight is their get-right game against Vivacity. I mean, Vivacity is the former JBFC from last season, who's still, I think, struggling to find their footing this season, especially with the new players they've added to it. But again, I just don't think this is the game for Vivacity to find their footing. I think this is the get-right game for Dark Mode.
Matt, are we in agreement on this one, or you feel a little differently?
I fear I am in agreement, only because Dark Mode, I feel like Dex said it very eloquently. It's just look at the roster, look at the players on it. We know them. There's so many of them that have played in other Masters seasons, other Masters teams. They've played in higher levels of competition as well. And again, this is gonna be their first match, of course, recorded in for this season, as far as I'm aware, on the website. So. But the people don't lie. You know the players are, and I think I agree. I think this is the time for Vivacity not to take this as a chance to like prove themselves. Do next match. Let's just do that. This time we're gonna try and fight as much as we can against the absolute powerhouse that Dark Mode's roster should look like it should be.
Hyper, are we in agreement here? Are we going all for Dark Mode right now, or is there some Vivacity belief within you somewhere?
Honestly, as much as like an old head competitive Overwatch enjoyer that I am, seeing Cry, Mouthful, like Dove, Switch, like these are names that I used to look up to watching contenders, watching like the weird in between of LA Valiant, but. If I'm gonna be honest, I think there's just some washed old men trying to relive the glory days. I want to love them, but I think it's just gonna be Vivacity proving that maybe Dark Mode isn't quite up to snuff. And I also gotta shout out Azrif on Dark Mode. I love Azrif. I used to be on a team with him for a short while as well. But I don't see I don't see a world in which Dark Mode, if they do come out on top of this match, I don't see a world in which that momentum is carried through to being a top or even like barely middle team in Master Division.
Yeah, because again, like I said, these are two teams that need to bounce back now. Like, they've already played a good amount of games. Vivacity, this is their 6th game already. They need to start bouncing back. They need to do it now. And in this situation with how things went for this team last season, I think they're going to be a bit more hungry for it, honestly. So I'm also going to swing the way of Vivacity. I think it has every reason to be close, but we're also at a state right now where I wouldn't be entirely shocked either way this match went. But I'm going to choose to believe in Vivacity. We'll see how much that may or may not burn me here in about an hour's time. But we're going to keep this thing rocking and rolling. We got another fun game going on here tonight that we have to discuss. A game that I think has every chance to be close as well. Grimoire is taking Elemental Normal. Grimoire, a team that comparatively, again, hasn't had a great start, and Elemental Normal is also in that same department. I think this is the same scenario where these are two teams that definitely need a get-back win. And Hyper, I'm going to go to you first on this one. Your thoughts on this game, because both these teams, again, they really need this win.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Element Normal have been off to a bit of a rough start, but I think their strength of schedule has also been a bit easier compared to the likes of Grimoire. Grimoire being that old Amplify core as well, they have the chutzpah, they have that synergy, maybe a bit more than Element Normal might have. And I think that for Grimoire, that stylistic difference of them taking up more of the main tanks has just made things a bit difficult for themselves. But I also think that they are very quickly picking up the pace. They're very quickly understanding, as well as the meta itself, kind of adjusting itself. And I think that very much so favors the likes of someone like Zach or J-Man, because like the Xion that Zach brings out is kind of nasty. And I think Element Normal,
yeah.
with some shooters like I'm 37, the Irish new and improved I'm 37, I think there's potential for Element Normal to get a win here and to kind of swing things. But I think Grimoire are the bunch that I would place my non-existent money in.
We only use non-existent money here on the desk, by the way. I must reiterate that very clearly. I die. Neva, we're gonna get your thoughts on this as well. How do you feel about this game?
I mean, it's two teams that are still trying to prove themselves in the early stage of the season. This is very much a song and dance we have seen time and time again across multiple seasons of Faceit, right? And I will kind of put my neck out there for Element Normal. Is it like okay if I just say I really like I'm 37's name, so I want to vote for Element Normal? Is that okay to say? I watched Element Normal a little bit ago in one of the earlier matches, and I did believe they did unfortunately lose that one, but it was a really entertaining series. And I do think Hyper has kind of put it correctly, where I do think Element Normal do have the opportunity to maybe get a win here, and odds are maybe Grimoire might get the W, but I will go and put my vote on to Element Normal for this one to take the series.
Hey, that's fine by me. Dex, I need your thoughts on this game. Because again, I think this has every reason to be a close game, honestly.
Yeah, and both these teams desperately need a win. I mean, you look at Grimoire 1-3 coming into this one, 2-3 for a normal coming into this one. A win really puts them into a good spot. You look at the games after it for both teams, kind of challenging. I mean, we even talked about after we covered Grimoire back last week, where they had a really tough span of games here to start this season. Gets a little bit better for them towards the end of the season. But you need to try to find wins here right now if you're Grimoire, and Elemental Normal is probably the best chance you have to get a win in your next couple matches here. So I have to go with Grimoire here. And yeah, I am 37, and Elemental Normal has been a really fun team to watch, especially last season coming up from Expert into Masters. They were a big surprise, really fun. And we talk about I am 37, but that is a great squad there. Brubber as a tank has been awesome to watch as well. But I think Grimoire, just being the team that they've been for these past couple years as Amplify, I think you have to kind of give them the edge here.
Yeah, I think ultimately I am going to be in agreement here with Grimoire again. It's a team that I think, while both definitely have experience with each other, I think we've seen this squad together for what feels like around a year now, at least with this Central. Or it's been one that has at least, has gotten to those top in the past. Has always been a contender in a lot of people's eyes. Have always won some of those big matchups. I think they definitely pulled this off here today, because a loss here, I think it'd be devastating for them personally to move 1-4 at this stage. They've bounced back before, but we'll see if they can do it again. But we got one more to go through, as we're going to quickly get this over with. As hey, this is we are going to go quick on, but this is our marquee matchup, by the way. This is the game that we over here are co-streaming tonight between WAY2THANUS versus Mouse5. Again, two teams that came from Expert, fought their way here, they got their way here, and now they are fighting potentially to make sure they can maintain those spots down to the line. Dex, I'm going to go and start on this one, and again, this is the story of the day of just like teams that need to get wins under their belt. How are you feeling in this game right here?
I have to give the edge to Thanus here. Mouse5 is a good team, but they've really struggled coming out of the gate here. Thanus, they've beaten Vivacity and Elemental Normal. Those are the two victories this season. Their losses are to Artemis, Amplify, and EXO. Like, they've been able to play really good. And hell, they took a map off Amplify, which Amplify right now is probably, I would say, the surprise of the season at the moment. At the moment, a lot could change, but I have to give it here to THANUS. However, I will say this for Mouse5. If there was a game they were going to win, were to win, this would be the one, considering these two teams have history last season.
Yeah, history right there. Mott, how do you feel about this game? Two expert teams that I feel like are still trying to prove they are able to stay here in Faceit, and, or I should say in Master Tier, and be able to keep competing with other big teams.
Yeah, no, I'll keep it short and sweet. I think this one's definitely going to be a WAY2THANUS W here. In my opinion, just because I do think the roster, they have a little more wins under their belt, and granted, their 3 losses were against, dang it, can't do anything about that, can I? Like EXO and all that jazz. Like it is what it is, and what it ain't. But I do think Mouse5, they just been struggling. They are 0-5 right now in the current standings, or at least in the last recent matches. In season 9, so it's kind of just like, okay, if you want to try to win here, you definitely can, but it's still going to be a difficult one for Mouse5 to try to achieve against WAY2THANUS. So yeah, again, I'm on with the THANUS train here.
Right. We keeping the THANUS train going, or how you feel about this game?
I'm gonna bring that train to an end. I think Mouse5 are gonna take the unpredicted win. I think THANUS on paper should win, but I think Mouse5 are kind of in that do or die scenario. This is the game that kind of shows, do they understand the meta? Do they understand what they're, for lack of better words, what they're doing? Or are they still that expert team that came up into Master Division? So I think they're going to have to prove themselves here. They're going to have to pull out the win, and I think that'll be just enough to push them over the edge.
I like your way of thinking. I really do. But I'm going to get that train going again here, because I am also going with WAY2THANUS. Again, they've had, for some of the really tough games that they had, I feel like they put up some good fights. Amplify is that big fight I think they put where they just, they can show they can take maps off of good teams, and they got decently convincing wins against Vivacity and Elemental Normal. So again, I think proven a lot so far. I want to see Mouse5 make this close, though. I want to see them fight hard and potentially take this away. But right in front of me right now, I feel like it has to be WAY2THANUS. Like I said, I'm happy to be surprised to see what ends up happening. But we're talking about how excited this game, and hey, we got predictions going both ways, and these will definitely get clipped later on, because it turns out this desk sometimes getting their predictions right. I wouldn't have guessed. But with that said, we're going to close this out. So obviously, I want to thank everybody for coming on the desk here today. Mott, for coming back, always lovely to have you. Hyper, having you for the first time. I know you've got the game with Extinction going on tomorrow, so obviously, go watch Hyper tomorrow. Go watch that game. It's going to be a lot of fun. But for tonight, you want to stick around in this stream right here. Myself, Dexatron, we are going to be this amazing game between WAY2THANUS and Mouse5. So we're going to go for a short break. When we come back, we'll have that game ready. So we'll see you after the break. Hello, everybody. Welcome back from the break. We just got done breaking down everything on the from our thoughts of the previous week to our predictions for today, and of course that includes game here today between Mouse5 and WAY2THANUS, and this should be a pretty fun game. Dex, again, two teams that came up from expert season, earned their way here, are now trying to prove what they're going to be able to do. As I know, I'm moving out of frame a second, but that doesn't stop the fact that this game here needs to be a serious bounce back for these teams, especially Mouse5, who has yet to claim a win under their.
Yeah, and much like I said during the frenzy, if there was a game that Mouse5 was going to win, this is probably their best chance for it for the next couple games. They've played WAY2THANUS in the past. They have some history. They know what to expect from them here. But WAY2THANUS, give them credit. They did add some players to their roster between Expert to Masters, I believe. And you look at some of those players there, really good players in the past. I'm talking about Hero and Kirito. We know how good they are. We saw Hero a lot this past weekend with Copa America, where they played on Team Canada. But still, you look at this right now, WAY2THANUS actually has been Elemental Normal and Vivacity. Elemental Normal, one of the teams we talked about, like saying, hey, this is still a really good core from last season. I think they got off to a rough start. Grand, that was their first game for both of them. It was the first game of the season for both those teams. So get those first game jitters out of the way. WAY2THANUS was able to take advantage of them here. But we're focusing in on this one right now. We already know what the first map is going to be. We're going to be heading to Oasis. And it is up to Mouse5 to pick which hero they're going to be banning out first here, Hunter.
We'll have to see pretty shortly here what the choice is going to be. The last second they bring it through, it is going to be the Sigma, which, to be fair, Sigma, very popular tank as of recent times. Don't really blame them trying to get rid of it right out the rip. It does keep the support category wide open, though, for WAY2THANUS to make their own selection there.
Yeah, it leaves the support heroes open, leaves the DPS heroes open. And me and you have been talking about it over the last couple of weeks, really last week and a half. We started to see Lucio be banned out here pretty frequently in our first map. Doesn't matter what the series is, doesn't matter what the tier is, what the league is, or what the competition is. Lucio has been a pretty popular first ban, and I understand you want to be let down.
Yeah,
but still, it's not the worst ban.
Relax for a second.
Yeah, she was fine, then she wasn't. But I mean, Lucio's been a popular first ban, especially with the Sigma being banned out here. It wouldn't surprise me to see it be banned out here, because it means that, you know, you're still leaving. You'll probably expect Mouse5 to be wanting to play that Malga kind of style right now. So you ban out the Lucio here if you're WAY2THANUS. So you still have that Mizuki right there, which has been becoming a really good counter to that Malga.
Yeah, it's been a really big counter, so we'll see what the selection actually ends up being here pretty shortly. Again, you've already brought up some really good selections that could come through. I think there's been some favorites over the of the season thus far. Again, that Lucio that just feels like it gets banned out map 1 like more often than not, and through most series it gets taken away eventually. Sometimes it gets taken away by both teams here, but also there's some really strong DPS that are going about. Xion obviously has been strong since launch, has been doing phenomenally. You still have other characters like Soj that are always really strong. Occasionally the Tracer makes appearances, May making a lot of appearances there too. We'll simply have to wait and see as the laps are waiting to finalize, making sure things are in place properly, because there are two tanks for WAY2THANUS. We do kind of go back and forth. While Hero does play a majority of the time, there is definitely that willingness to play both of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing to have some flexibility in your entire lineup. Especially when it comes to tanks, because it allows those tank players not to focus on everything, instead focus on maybe one tank being a tank that's better with brawl and like poke, the other tank dive and rush. I mean, it leaves doors open for certain heroes to really specify on anything here. But you brought up a decent point as oh, I didn't like that sound. You brought up a decent point right there with the May getting played here a lot, especially with the two tanks that are really meta at the moment with the Sigma and the Malga. May kind of fits right into comboing with them very well. Ice Wall, again, maybe one of the strongest abilities in the game, just being able to section off those tanks away from the enemy team, forces out a lot of utility early on from that team, especially from that tank player, to make sure they don't die almost immediately right there. But still, it's gonna be very interesting to see what WAY2THANUS wants to do here, where they're kind of leaning towards with their ban, because with that ban, it will kind of tell us a good idea of what we should expect from them here.
Definitely will. And that clock about to run down here again, ticking every single second, just to make sure they're in place, making sure they have the rosters exactly how they would like it, and just honestly take every second to make sure they are prepared. But it comes through eventually. The Sojourn gonna be the ban from the side of WAY2THANUS to get things started on Oasis.
Yeah, and we talked about Sojourn still getting decently played a lot here. Maybe not a ban we see that often, especially when you look at all the other kind of hit scans that are out there right now. Cass probably being the strongest one that we, not necessarily the strongest, but the one we see banned the most frequently because, like, hey, flashbang still, it doesn't have the long stun that it used to, but it really does stop a hero like Malga from really finding that much value with their charge in here. And Hunter, I mean, we talked about some of the members here on WAY2THANUS. We do know at least one of the members of Mouse5 with Ducio, who we saw down in South America these past couple seasons.
Yeah, Ducio is someone we wanted to see, honestly, quite a bit, and it's been really interesting to see everything they've been able to accomplish in recent times as well. Has been, honestly, a really fun figure to watch. I honestly just played, I'm pretty sure, in Copa America over on Team Costa Rica. Had a really fun time with that squad that ended up coming in the top 4 position. But no, definitely a player that's pushed a lot. I think has more to accomplish and a lot more to prove. Maybe that's something we see here today, because obviously you make your way up into Masters tier and you want to make the most of it. You want to be able to, at the very least, be able to still be in here next season to give your all and kind of work your way up. We've seen in the past that barely stayed in the past and kept working their way up and got better and better. And you're hoping, honestly, for both these teams that they get that opportunity.
Yeah, and again, I think you brought up a really good thing right there with, even though it's technically the second full week of the season, third week of the Faceit season, right now, you kind of have to start thinking about that. I believe it was 5 wins last season, which kept teams in. But those teams that had below those 5 wins, minus Hive Mind that forfeited out, you saw them have to play, either got automatically demoted or had to play in those promotion relegation games there. So 5 wins is that number, I think, for a lot of these teams. If you're WAY2THANUS, you already have 2. You're technically halfway there right now, and I like the wipe here, Luau, but you're already halfway there right now. A win here tonight puts you 3-3, and again, you still have to play a couple of your other the other teams that came up from the expert tier last season. So you feel pretty confident considering you already got that 1 win over a team that was in Masters last time around. But let's see what we're seeing here from the start. Hero being in for WAY2THANUS, kind of what we expected. We know how good of a tank Hero is. Other side, Playtoys showing us the Malga. And again, we saw the signal be banned out here. Malga kind of was the idea I was going to be leaning towards here. Both teams thinking that they're going to see Malgas on the other side. That's why I see Pizza Pete and Zyspa. I'm just going to say Spa. They're playing the Reapers, but having Hero on this Zarya is going to be really, really interesting. However, you're not seeing any Mizukis here. You're still seeing the speed be utilized for both these 2 teams.
Not mind in the slightest. Again, it's going back to bare basics in this one, and honestly, I like it. We haven't been able to see a lot of the Lucio v Lucio gameplay in recent times. Glad to see it here as Malga going to move in aggressively. Remember, we saw how much that Malga can be do or die in last night's game, everything I can and cannot do. But the bright side is, when you're on this Malga, you can still poke away a little bit. It's a little difficult when you do have a full charge hero kind of just staring you down the gun right here, as Playtoys going to touch the point momentarily. He's going to have to run, get the mega health pack. Before the moment, WAY2THANUS takes claim of the point.
And here we're going to be able to find Pizza Pete early on here. And I think you might see Pizza Pete make a big swap here almost immediately. I don't think the Reaper's going to find that much value here. But you do find Spa out. However, Ducio will be traded.
Yep. Not too bad, all things considered. Again, you find that pick, you're able to kind of hold on to this little choke to start, but you need to find a way to be able to break through. And it's not going to be easy, especially considering double consider rush is coming up here, and you can question who that aids more between Playtoys and Hero. I think maybe Playtoys in this situation is going to benefit just slightly more, but you have to be willing to initiate here, or at the very least, go in and hope that WAY2THANUS either like commits down or backs out.
I mean, WAY2THANUS, I think this is a type of point in the comp you're running, especially with the investment here of the Consumer Rush and finding Nino out early on. You're going to continue onto it right now. Mouse5 is going to probably have to be one that disengages here.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing the full reset come through. Hero still having full charge, as well as Mouse5 taking another reset. They're going to have their own Consumer Rush, but the problem is they're not going to have the sound barrier for this grab coming up.
Yeah, they're not, and that's going to be the biggest problem here. The Hero can play very aggressively right now, especially with how Mouse5 is kind of all grouped together. They could find this grab here a lot of value and really put it in a final fight territory here pretty quickly. As you see Spa just TP in the backline, there's the grab.
Yeah, and there comes through. It's going to pull everybody in, and Neno, the only one to be out alive currently, looking to be able to reset, get to the spawns, will eventually be able to pull that one out. So, again, it's a quick one, and they still have 3 ultimates ready to go.
They still have 3 ultimates ready to go, and Mouse5, I mean, you see him going around to the outside of the map here. They're going to have all 5 of their ultimates here, but if you lose anyone early on, like Ducio, who's going to be hyperly important to this entire fight, Hunter, it's not looking good.
Ooh, no, it is not, and Pete's gonna have it. It's not gonna mean a whole lot. Cage fight there, but it's gonna be Play Toy's Tomb, as it's gonna be the first round quickly taken care of by WAY2THANUS.
And WAY2THANUS, again, we talked about it coming into this one here. They have good talent on this team, Hero being one of those players, but you're starting to see everyone else really just play up to a lot of their potential here. I think coming into the season, especially when you talk to Parker or PC New York, I think he said that WAY2THANUS was probably the best of the expert teams that came up here and maybe the one that could make the most noise, but still, Mouse5 is right there. A lot of those other expert teams are right there. Mouse5, though, they need to figure out something here. I don't think the Reaper is necessarily going to work out for them here. Again, I think need to have something else. Hero on the Zarya is just being too much of a problem at the moment for Mouse5 to really deal with. And performance, you give him a lot of credit. You talked about it. The Xion we've been seeing be played here these last couple of days has been incredible. Even with people saying the slight nerf she got, making her a little bit more clunky, would effectively change her. Hasn't been much changed yet so far.
Yeah, and it's going to keep finding a lot of value here as well, I think, especially for performance, who's already, put in a good one for that matter. But Pete does need to match it here. No longer going to be playing that Reaper, now going to be matching it instead. The point getting ready to open up. WAY2THANUS has a good spot over on the point as Neno going to be able to stay alive for the time being. Eventually going to push over onto this point, and now Spa going to be the first one to fall on down. The chance for Mouse5 to win out this fight. They still need to close it out, but Neno should have just solidified it right then and there, as all you can do if your hero is move in, try to find a pick. Unfortunately, they will fall over. Mouse5, this time the ones to start out with the point.
Yeah, and both these compositions are built for attrition here, and it's just gonna come down to who finds the better value with that attrition here. And it all comes down to WAY2THANUS for the bubbles. How much value is the Hero getting out of these bubbles? We see them every time we've gone to them about their 100% charge on it, so they're doing a lot of damage. But Mouse5, especially with Pizza Pete going over to this Xion, I think is going to be a little bit better at just being able to play some angles here the way WAY2THANUS really cannot.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that one right there. And now they have to continue to take advantage of that fact. They're going to have to rush slightly ahead of Goose, but still, it's a scenario where it's probably going to be around the same exact time anyway, but they're going to pull that trigger. Goose not quite ready with it. You see performance, though, burnt down quickly. Deadeye from Neno, hoping to find something. Instead, is going to go and chase Spot into the back line, trying to find that shot. Hasn't gotten away with it yet, so it's going to be another fight here for Mouse5, pulling it out. Looking really good thus far here.
Yeah, again, we talked about they need to make an improvement from last round, and apparently the only improvement they needed to make was Pizza Pete going over to the Xion. Like I said, the Reaper was not going to work into the Zarya. You go over to the Xion, it works a little bit better. A lot of the abilities Xion has, it can kind of wait out all those bubbles there. The right-click ability, hell, even throwing the motorcycle can really be able to just wait out the bubbles. But you look at the ultimates going online here for WAY2THANUS. If they're looking for an engagement, this is the time to do it. But the grab or the cage out here from Play Toys. And the beat.
Yeah, just gets rid of the cage immediately. Yeah, you can say beat in exchange as well. Grab going to come in, gets plenty into there, and now it's down to a 2v2, but it's just Neno and Ducio. It's going to be hard to stay into this DPS line, and Ducio, last one alive, is going to keep falling back, and I think might have to just fully back out and just take the reset.
Yeah, Mouse5 investing almost everything into that one. Nino, the only one not to have an ultimate ready to go there, has it coming up for this fight here, but you look at WAY2THANUS, grab, Kitsune, Death Blossom was invested, but you still have your Spree, you still have your Beat, so you're in a good spot right now here, ultimate-wise, but still, you need to be able to find that first pick. I think that's been really important here for WAY2THANUS in a lot of these fights, especially when you go back to the first point. They were able to get stuff going early on, and Performance wants to go straight in with their Spree.
Yeah, definitely trying to. With Performance, though, down early. It's a good start for Mouse5, who are going to move in with the Deadeye as well. They're going to go all in with the Soundberry, though. Going to catch Neno completely off guard, and the rest of Mouse5 need to find a reset, but it's going to be hard to find in this situation, especially they don't find the free flip. They're gonna have to take this opportunity to reset as Playtoys would love to get out of here alive. It's becoming tough, but the bright side is Hero does go down, so at the very least, that's a complete reset of that charge.
Yeah, it's going to be a complete reset, and it's now up for Cameron to get this final pick in that fight to kind of go back and taxi Hero in here, because WAY2THANUS cannot necessarily win a fight without them here. And you look at this, Des does have the Kitsune Rush ready to go here, so Mouse5 can come in very quickly, knowing that WAY2THANUS might not have any ultimates on the other side, and they'd be right here. The longer they wait, it allows Spa, allows Goose to build those ultimates to be able to counter back with. If you're Mouse5, you need to go now.
You need to. You're in that position right now. 70% already down the board. You have Kitsuneers ready to go. Goose, again, no scenario where not quite ready with it. Need to find a good target. A spot. Not going to find anything with this Death Blossom. And now Mouse5 in seriously good position to take this over to University. But still, Kitsune Rush ready to go. Playtoys needs to try to burn down Hero as fast as possible, who's coming up to a grab of their own for the second time. But you see the trades already taking place here. Dex says, Grav can be ready to go. His sound barrier has been used. It's thrown down. It catches on to 2. But no one's falling over for Mouse5. It's just Ducio who's fallen. Cameron, last one, hanging on the point. And Dex, they indeed are going to take us over to University to settle this one.
Yeah, and this was a much better point here for Mouse5. Everything that kind of went their way, they were able to find picks early on. They were able to play space more here. And granted, I think first point we went to with Gardens was a little bit difficult for them to play the space because that kind of composition wants to be headstrong. They want to be rushing and they want to be moving around. I just think the composition, though, is going to struggle here on University because it's a little bit more close quarters. Yeah, you could play high ground. You could play side room right there. And I think this really works out a little bit better for WAY2THANUS and their composition. But still, I think Pizza Pete making that swap off the Reaper was a big difference there for Mouse5. They looked incredibly well. Nino as well. I mean, this DPS line, which was kind of quiet the first map, really introduced themselves to us here completely in that second point right now. And no swaps looking like coming out here from WAY2THANUS. And Mouse5, the only swap is going to be just the sim to TP out, and then they're going to get straight on that high ground here almost immediately. But Performance going to be able to throw a bike. Does whiff, though.
Yeah, unfortunately so. But either way, Hero's trying to hang around Valley for this high ground as Mouse5 is going to get pushed off of it. Is going to end up playing on point eventually. I mean, you could see them go high again, but instead, you see the chase in the back line as Spot is just eliminated on the spot. And all you can do if you're WAY2THANUS is move in on this Hero, getting extremely low already, trying to burn them down. This would pretty much solidify your fight, and that it eventually is going to do. Dax here as Performance Goose trying to get out of here alive. They're going to try, and that they shall, but Mouse5 still going to start with the point.
Honestly, right now, if you're WAY2THANUS, you might have to start contemplating some swaps here. I don't necessarily know if this Zarya is going to work out well here. You need to get the point back quickly, though. However, I think that's the biggest thing here. Even though I said this is going to be a point where I thought WAY2THANUS' composition would work very well, it's just struggling here. And you saw it right there. Spa got taken out very early on, and we're looking at a Bubble Popper comp right now here for Mouse5 because you're seeing just Playtoys and everyone else from Mouse5 say, hey, yeah, we see your bubbles. We're just going to pop them.
Yeah, I mean, that's the plan right now, especially if you know there's one bubble left. That's what you're going to go for, but they carry to Cameron. Unfortunately, it might not be as good of a trade as you were hoping for. Mouse5 not sitting in the best of situations. The DPS eventually going to find themselves vulnerable. Ducio, last person to touch. They will get up to 39%, and they don't build up to any ults either. But now this next fight, Dex, this could be a big investment for both of the squads.
Oh, it could be a huge investment here. I mean, you see all the ultimates coming up online here. WAY2THANUS could have the sled advantage by having the grab before Playtoys has the cage, but you want to be smart with it. You don't want to necessarily overinvest into a fight here because it will hurt you in the long run. So what's going to be the first one out here? Probably the Kitsune Rush from both sides. That's always a good intro to fights, but it won't surprise me if Performance decides to go with the spree, but no, it's Goose with the Kitsune.
Yep, and now Grab's ready to go here as Spa gonna find 2 with the Death Blossom, and it's going to be the cleanup for WAY2THANUS, and now you see Performance hiding away with that spree ready to go.
Yeah, and they're going to try to get some value out of this one here. If they invest the grab into it, I think it would be a little bit of an over-investment. I think, honestly, this needs to be used on its own. However, you look at the other side, you want this spree to be able to get out that beat. But it looks like Spa might not be able to get out, but the spree might just save him.
Yeah, we'll have to see what ends up happening right now. Is Deadeye going to be used to zone everybody out? Nearly catch someone in the air, but instead, they're going to grab, they're going to beat. They throw everything into this, and Pizza Pete tries to find something with the spree. Unfortunately, it's been a massive struggle thus far, and with a lot of these ultimates now down the drain as That was 9 ultimates total for Mouse5. It was 5 L2s, and it didn't work.
Yeah, and again, the performance using that spree there forced out the beat, forced out the continuous. Nino used the Deadeye almost instantly as well. I mean, for one ultimate, you got a lot out, but then WAY2THANUS started to invest. Mouse5 then said, okay, hey, we have to also invest in this one here, because they honestly thought they probably could win that fight there, and I don't blame them. That was a winnable fight for Mouse5 if they got one pick, but WAY2THANUS did a really good job. Support lines give them their credit, but Ducio finding Spa out early on. That's been a theme so far, Hunter.
Yeah, and it's a 90% on the board. This is going to potentially go to the overtime, but you already see WAY2THANUS realize fight's over. We're not going to let them build towards charge. He's just going to take the quick reset instead.
Yeah, quick reset. You have this slight ult economy on your side with Spa being able to build to this Death Blossom here relatively soon, but Nino is also relatively close to that Deadeye here, but still, you're looking for an entry, and I just think you're going to see Performance kind of throw some bikes here, try to get a little bit of distraction here, allowing Spa to take that off angle, but Spa now needs a lot of help.
Tons of it right now, and WAY2THANUS, they're building up towards that Death Blossom, that Kitsune Rush, and Mouse5, they're not really close to anything outside of a Deadeye, but they do need to get the touch eventually, and Neno down early, they're going to move into play Toys, who has everybody. Look at them right now, and it's going to be the cleanup squad coming through from WAY2THANUS. It may go 3, but Thanus is eventually going to close it out and start out with this opening map in their favor.
Yeah, and a much better round here for WAY2THANUS. Again, they started off really strong, and then Mouse5, I think with the more open point, kind of was able to find a little bit more value there, just being able to move around. Then you go back to this close quarters point where, again, it was back and forth for a little bit there, but WAY2THANUS, especially with what they were running, more brawly, works out a little bit better for them here. And Spa getting play of the game, yeah, it's off of a grab, essentially, from Hero, but still, doing everything you want this Reaper to do, especially playing into this Malga comp that the other side is playing at the moment. Again, Malga is strong, but you're still seeing all these other counters that are incredibly strong as well. And you have to remember, Mouse5 banned out probably the best tank counter to that Malga in map 1 with the Sigma. So they were really hoping to get that map.
Yeah, I really hope it too. And they kept it really close. I think they fought really well, but still the Zarya was able to do a lot into the rest of the team as well, because not only is it a good resource to burn down the Malga, but that Zara, it's at 100 charge. It's really difficult to deal with Hero at that point. You basically have to go after others, force those bubbles out, and only then can you really send in play toys to do a lot of that big damage over on to Hero. But we'll see if there's any adjustments, as we've already have the map selection coming through here for Mouse5. The Mouse5, they're going to take us over to New Junk City on this one, and we'll have to see momentarily who they're going to ban out in this scenario. And after that map, I mean, who do you realistically go after?
Reaper. It should be Reaper. It should be Reaper. If you want to play this Malga, you get rid of the Reaper. You're going to have to deal with probably the Sigma coming back here from WAY2THANUS, but I wouldn't necessarily be mad if we see the Zarya come back out, and yeah, that's exactly what Mouse5 does. Gets rid of the Reaper. Again, the Reaper is just so strong against the Malga right now. So much pressure is applied to the Malga because they can't overextend themselves here. And yeah, while Spa sometimes TP themselves into bad spots and put themselves in bad spots, when they were alive, they really did give Play Toys a lot of trouble.
They definitely did a lot of trouble, and we'll see if this is going to make things a little bit, because while it does open up the Sigma to come back in, because obviously it's been banned out already, I don't know if they opt to stick with the Zara without the Reaper, you know, making appearances, because I think you could still potentially get away with it here, but at the same time, if you wanted to go on this map and say, hey, we just don't want to deal with the Malga ourselves, that's a serious. You could force a mirror of a different kind, because in a map like this, if you don't have the Malga, maybe you are forced to kind of match a Zarya. Maybe you bring out the Ramatra. There's some other options, but you know they probably want to try to make this Malga work here again.
Yeah, and they're going to try, I imagine, here. The Sigma, though, it's going to be interesting to see if we do see it from WAY2THANUS, because Zarya, like you mentioned, will still be available. And I think you could still relatively play the Zarya here, but what do you play in that Reaper slot? Do you still keep the Xion and maybe have someone go over to a Cassidy? Do you play Tracer? Vendetta has slowly been quietly making a little bit of a comeback at times, especially if you're pairing it with the Zarya. Venture, especially on a map like New Junk City, is, I think, quietly a really good pick here. But still, it comes down to comfortability for WAY2THANUS at the moment, and maybe we see a swap come in here, because we do know there are 3 subs for both these two teams.
Yeah, and there's plenty to work with here as well. A lot of really talented players on top of that. we'll have to see if any will come through, because again, we've seen a lot of these people play in the past, know how incredibly talented they are, so it's not really a shock to us if any of them got subbed in the situation right here. But we'll simply have to wait to see. Still a couple of minutes for these teams to change the rosters if they would like to. I imagine WAY2THANUS maybe feel confident about how things went, but they can be confident, but it was still close. It was a 1 or 2 fight difference that very easily could have let that go the way of Mouse5 instead.
Yeah, it really could have been. And I think that's one thing. If you're Mouse5, you have to kind of take the positives of that map. You could have had it. And I understand maybe that's the worst thing you could say, like you could have had that map. But with how their season's gone so far here, Hunter, you have to start taking the small victories and be able to build upon them here. We've seen it a lot already in this season and in seasons past, where sometimes teams get off to a slow start, but we talk about they get better every map and they're finally able to put it together. Hell, we saw it last night with Ex Oblivione over Nightmare. They were good in map 1, got better map 2, and started to put together maps 3, 4, and 5 to complete that reverse sweep. So it has happened once. However, we're not the reverse sweep point yet, but still building upon what Mouse5 did good last game is going to be important to them.
It would be crazy if we had just a repeat of last night, but the thing is that, again, they kind of go all in with the fact that you ban the Sigma early. Sigma probably wouldn't come out on a map like this either. At least it wouldn't be like the first selection. But every map type from here on out, that Sigma is going to be extremely viable. We'll see if it gets played when we get into that situation. But again, just waiting for the lineups to finalize here. Just a tiny bit of time left here. But, you know, on a map like this, again, we talk about the kind of map that this is, the kind of map that Flashpoint is in general. This is going to play pretty similarly to what we saw on Oasis. It's going to be fast comps. It's going to be teams wanting to take fights first, and a scenario where if you have things like Kitsune Rushes and Sound Barriers still active, you have to be very careful with those, which, you know, that could be a whole ban in its own right if we get to that point. But Dex, lineups are about to finalize. Next pick comes through, and yeah, on the money. Mauga banned out.
Yeah, kind of what I would expect here from it, especially with the Rereading banned out. You ban out the Malga, and now basically you're saying to WAY2THANUS is saying to Mouse5, like, okay, what does PlayToys have? What else does PlayToys have? Because you already show us you want to play that Malga. Are you now going to play the Sigma? D.Va is an option, but I feel like unlike last season, D.Va's starting to get a little bit less and less play, but still getting play. You talked about Ramatra. Orisa, especially on a map like this, does find a decent amount of value, I think, but it's going to be really interesting. Looking at the lineups right here, doesn't look like we're seeing a sub from either side, which kind of does let you know, like, we're going to probably end up seeing the majority of the same 10 players throughout the night.
Yeah, it's a real possibility. And again, you've got some really good talent if it is needed, because I feel like there are some teams that have brought in other players this season to kind of fill out certain niches, or to kind of have that ability to just have more, I don't even want to say more flexibility necessarily, but to simply have that person that can come in if they need to, whether someone is just having an off day or they're not around, or hey, we have this person that can come in and play like the Alari on Circle Royale, or if they can come in and play, hey, we need you to come and play the Tracer on Oasis. For that matter, there are players that are like that can come in and fill that spot, take care of those niches very simply so. But at least for now, we know we've got those same lineups, so we're just waiting to get things loaded in with both of our teams to get this one started. But I mean, realistically, what does a Mouse5 team look like without the Maug in the lineup? Do you think they decide to mirror the Zarya, or do you think they go a different route instead?
I don't think they mirror the Zarya here. I don't think so. I think realistically, probably the next best option for them would be the Ramatra here. But like I said, there's still a lot of tanks that are very much viable here at the moment. I talked about the Orisa, really good on this map. The Ramatra, really good on this map. Hell, Sigma, which we probably expect to see at some point throughout the night for one or both of these teams, really good on this map. But it's going to be actually PlayToy showing us the Zara and Hero going over to the Ramatra here, which is a big surprise.
Yeah, I mean, Hero does have a lot of flexibility. Give credit. But now, if PlayToy comes out on the Zarya, and you can still find value with a Zarya into a Ramatra, it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world, but you definitely can. You just have to be careful. If you have Spot coming out here, playing the Mei, pretty much everybody that isn't named Pizza Pete, if you get cut off by that, you might just be as good as done.
Yeah, and I mean, you already just see them. We talked about the May coming out last map a little bit here and how valuable May is. May is really valuable on this map. Again, Ice Wall, very strong here. You see performance going over to the Cassie, and we're seeing a big just difference here between the two teams, essentially. Maybe a little bit more of a difference than what I expected to see.
Yeah, definitely so. We'll see how things get started, though, for Mouse5 right here again. Having that Zara, you're trying to build it to a ton of that charge, and you're trying to find that poke away right now. A spot already has to use the ice block to stay alive. Goes out of it really quickly, though. Deso, oh my goodness, already has gotten rid of 2. It's going to be a quick one for Mouse5 to get this one started. Again, we forget how lethal that Kiriko really can be sometimes.
Yeah, and Death showed us a lot last map as well. Just didn't get their name in the kill feed that often here. But you look at everything right now for WAY2THANUS, and you have to try to find ways to get past this. Granted, in the past, we saw the Ramatra being something that is used to kind of counter Zarya, but it's very different now. Here, you're still looking at Spa here as a big component to this entire composition for WAY2THANUS. They have to be able to land these ice walls onto play toys, onto someone. You need to get rid of someone here if you're WAY2THANUS.
You definitely need to. Spot, Cameron both getting low. The former going to fall over in this one, and it's so much charge coming through from Play Toys. Who's going to help run it down everybody? In the maybe the bright side is right now as you manage to find the pick over in the Play Toys, and Cameron gets out that a retouch, not impossible.
It's not impossible. It's going to be difficult, though. However, I think WAY2THANUS might actually try to invest into this one here and try to quickly get there. You have Cameron on this Lucio, so you have the option too. And you have the Annihilation and Kitsune Rush. You do have yourself an actually good spot here to invest a little bit into a touch here. And yeah, it's going to be Cameron that does just throw their body on to get into overtime, but I don't think WAY2THANUS is actually set up for another touch here. I think it's a little bit of a misplay by them right there if Cameron was going to go for the touch.
Yeah, I think the plan was for Cameron to be able to get one more rotation out of that, because Cam was doing a very clear in and out, but just got caught out. It's unfortunate, but now it's a good start for Mouse5. We're coming up to a whole bed of ultimates right here, but WAY2THANUS right behind them in terms of that. You can see a pretty heavy investment early on, but the question is, Dex, who's got to strike first here?
I mean, WAY2THANUS needs to get something going here. You cannot allow Mouse5 to build up momentum here if you're them. Kitsune Rush and Deadeye already out here from WAY2THANUS, though. They're just trying to find something fast, and they do.
Yeah, and you're thrown into the corner as Grab's going to come out, but man, I don't like that a whole lot there. As you get the beat out, it's nice, but you're going to get wiped off the face of the earth. You use 2 ultimates in exchange for 3. It's not all that bad, but it is a little unfortunate.
Yeah, and I mean, granted, you invested 2 ultimates here if you're Mouse5. You got 3 out from the other side here, so you're coming back into this next one ready to go with ultimates. But Spa has this Blizzard, which is going to be as big as the Annihilation from Hero. And again, the grab you would love to have here, but Mouse5, I think they were sensing maybe a momentum shift going in there, and they could win that fight. The momentum would stay on their side, which is something they desperately need to keep on their side throughout this map. Because you look at last map, you look at that second point, WAY2THANUS really did not have a good response to anything Mouse5 was doing.
They really didn't. And now you're in a scenario right here where you have some really good ultimates. There's not many good solutions for them either. If Hero decides to go with Annihilation, you have Beef, but Neno's going to move in. They're going to double down in this fight. Faris came through in the back line as well, as Neno is going to be the first to fall on over, and now you need this play to go buck wild. Unfortunately, it's just not going to. There's nobody to find. And WAY2THANUS, that first one was difficult for them, but they made this second one look easy, as shortly they should have this thing captain tied up.
Yeah, and you got all the ultimates out there from Mouse5. I mean, they're going to be behind a little bit here. Granted, WAY2THANUS had to invest a lot into that one as well. But like you said, able to get everything back in their control here. Granted, unfortunate for them, they have to walk all the way across the map. Could give Mouse5 a little bit of an advantage here, but you wanted that from them. You wanted them to be able to calm down. I think Mouse5 just getting that first point cap, winning that first fight was so big for them there. On that first point, it kind of changed how that one went. And WAY2THANUS, they invested early. They forced Mouse5 to respond, and sometimes that just doesn't work there. We know this is a kind of reactionary game at times, but if you throw the first punch on her, sometimes you do find the knockout.
Yeah, and honestly, sometimes it's better to just take that first punch. At least you're initiating, you're doing something, you're committing, instead of being reactionary the entire series. Both teams, to be fair, in their own rights, have been really good at being the initiator. So in this situation right here, Mouse5 might need to be in this situation, but with the Consider Rush out, they're already going to get pushed back. They're going to have to surrender the point, wait for it to run out before they can invest.
Yeah, and again, I think you see the Kitsune Rush come out there from Goose. Now Dez is going to have theirs one ready to go here. So you wait for that. And hey, Dez finds the hero out early on. I would almost say you don't need to use the Kitsune, but you're going to use it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, you kind of, I don't blame them for doubling down here. Again, Hero was kind of close to death, but again, I think it's worth doubling down because you still have the reset. Goose just used their own. You can take time to reset, and now you're going to have the grab. And the question is, can Cameron build up to this beat in time?
Yeah, they might be able to here. They really might. I don't think PlayToys has shown us yet tonight that they are going to use the ultimate immediately once they get it, but they have the opportunity. They might just do that here, but they need to use it fast because Cameron is going to have that beat here momentarily.
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens. Deadeye going to be used as a zoning tool here. Grab's going to out. The wall is just going to stop anything there as Freeze also going to be committed from the side of WAY2THANUS, who have taken the advantage right here. PlayToys had such little health remaining and eventually is going to fall on over. It's a little bit more stall coming through from Mouse5. They'll get it to 68% here as a sound barrier, the lone ultimate currently online.
I mean, the lone ultimate for about 2 more seconds here. Here it's going to have Annihilation online for them. You're going to have Spree, Blade, and Beat coming up here soon for Mouse5, but you're going to need to get something going here fast because if you lose any one of those early on, this fight starts to get out of your control right now. But Beat from Cameron could really be used to counter out a lot of these ultimates that you see coming up here for WAY2THANUS, but for Mouse5, but WAY2THANUS pressing the go button right now. Hunter, I like this.
Yeah, I like it a whole lot too. It's 80+% on the board as Hero's already gotten rid of one. Satsuriku Spree does nothing for Neno as you're gonna throw Blade here if you're wait, Pete's got rid of 3. Wait, what? Is gonna be able to touch as well, but unfortunately, that's gonna be a big heroic play that is gonna come down to a 1v1 on the point. Hero is trying to get the finish. Eventually they will. It's a big play, but unfortunately it's looking like they're gonna try to get there. They're just short. It'll all be for nothing.
And WAY2THANUS doing everything good right there. I mean, Pizza Pete almost made that a really interesting fight right there. Finding 3 with the Blade on their own, but not having one of those 3 be Hero, I think, was the biggest difference right there. Hero being alive, just having that Nemesis form, a lost sustained shield after it as well. And PlayToys did a lot there to try to make sure they could keep that one going, but it was just a little bit too much here. But now look, WAY2THANUS going to have 2 ultimates going into this fight here, and yeah, you're going to have the Consumer Rush ready to go for both sides, but I mean, you cannot allow, I think, WAY2THANUS to use this Consumer Rush on their own like we've been seeing Dez do these last couple times that Goose has used it, but actually it's Performance going first.
Yeah, Performance, though, is down to start things out. Double Consumer Rush as well being thrown into there. And Hero is trying to sustain through it, but slowly the rest of WAY2THANUS is going to be falling on apart. Mouse5 going to start out with the 4th point, and like last time, Sound Barrier not going to be ready for the upcoming grab.
No, not at all here. And I think right now, if you're Mouse5, you have to keep this aggression level up. You cannot allow WAY2THANUS to take some space for free. I like what we're seeing from them right now, pushing up past the choke because they can always fall back and still have the choke ready to go here. But you look at Spa, Blizzard online for them. That could really be something that's used to technically counter out the Blizzard if you use it right here. But the longer this fight goes on, Hunter, and you don't see that grab come out, the closer and closer Cameron's going to be to having that beat to counter.
Yeah, definitely so. Pizza Pete down early, though, and Performance has already gotten rid of 2. Again, an instance of grab being thrown in really late. Sound Barrier being used. It feels like it's a replica of the 2nd point right now because Dex, it's pretty much going down the exact same way.
It is right now, and I mean, right now you're seeing Mouse5 just stagger out this point as long as they can. Gonna be able to get up to, I believe, 74%, which is good. But now you have the Spree, which Nino's struggled to really find value with it so far this map. You're gonna have Beat coming up here, which is big because you have Blizzard, you have Annihilation coming online here for WAY2THANUS. And those are probably the ultimates they're really gonna be looking to use here as just trying to stall out as much time as they possibly can. But you see Performance, who finds Nino out early, not that far away from a Deadeye Hunter, but that one pick right there, that's going to send Mouse5 back.
Yeah, it is definitely going to right now. Mouse5 need to win this upcoming fight. Losing Ducio, it sucks right now, but you are already going to be in 1-fight territory. And WAY2THANUS, the position they're in, you know they are going to smell blood in the water and strike fast here.
And they have to go fast. That's been one thing we haven't necessarily seen from them yet, is that Mouse5 going fast. They normally are very reactionary here, and I feel like that's going to be the case here as WAY2THANUS getting set up and pushing themselves a little bit too far forward. There's the Blizzard already out, and you see 2 ultimates immediately come out from Mouse5.
And it's a really big pick to get things started here, but now Annihilation going to be so hard to deal with, especially with the fact that Neno on the run, not going to be able to get away. Pizza Pete is hanging it around in the back. Eventually is going to get ran down as well. Mouse5, they do get the flip. They still have double support over on the PlayToys, who got separated by the wall, is struggling to stay alive. Everybody is on the hunt for the Czar, but now the overtime is going to commence. It is the 2nd map on the line here for Mouse5, who would love to force a fifth and final point here, but they're running out of ultimates, and they need to focus on Ducio, be able to stay alive, but more importantly, Play Toys to get this touch as well, as they eventually will be able to do so.
Yeah, I did come out there from before. It's not really finding anything other than maybe getting rid of a bubble there from Play Toys, but you lose Ducio early on, Hunter.
Yeah, and that should be that right there. Tried building up to the grab, there was just no way to do so while keeping presence on the point. So, WAY2THANUS, they're going to take this thing over to match point. Mouse5, they are making them work for it every single step of the way, but much like some parts of last night's game, Mouse5 is getting close, but they aren't able to actually close out a couple of these really important fights.
Yeah, and again, we talked about it. They looked incredibly good this map. They looked like they understood what they needed, what changes they needed to make. They were right there. They improved upon last map, but still weren't able to get over the hump there and win this map here. WAY2THANUS found ways to get past everything, and you have to give them a lot of credit for that here. Now, though, Mouse5, last map selection of the game for them, not last map necessarily. They're going to be bringing us over to Runasapi here, Hunter. So you're looking at a push map. It's going to be very interesting to see what they want to get rid of right now, because realistically, what do you get rid of? We just saw we've seen Hero play Zarya, we just saw Hero play Ramatra, and granted, those two heroes on a map like Runasapi do find a decent amount of value. I don't think you go tank though. I think honestly you might be getting rid of something like a Lucio here.
You could very easily get rid of Lucio,
Yep,
but we're gonna come down. Yeah, honestly, this is the simple to deal with, because I think you found out, if you're Mouse5, is that you can find ways to deal with the Zarya. And that could be as simple as just matching the Zarya. With a Ramatra, they struggle to find some solutions to it, because while it wasn't the biggest bother at first, once that ult economy got into its proper cycle, it got really difficult to deal with that Ramatra, because it feels like it's easier to burn down a Zarya much more than it is a Ramatra. That's not a hot take by any extent right here. But now WAY2THANUS will get their ban in place. And honestly, given what we kind of witnessed in that last map, I wouldn't be surprised if they just opt to take away some of Pizza Pete's potential and maybe get rid of that Genji.
The Genji would make a lot of sense here. It really would. And I think I have to agree with you, getting rid of the Genji. But you have to remember, with the Ramatra being banned out, Zarya back on the table, Malgo back on the table, Reaper is back on the table here as well this time around for both these two teams. It's just going to be interesting to see what way WAY2THANUS goes here, because you could realistically get rid of a support, but both these teams have been playing that Kiri Lucio backline. Neither one of them has necessarily differed from that here. Honestly, you could get rid of the Xion if you're WAY2THANUS, because you have seen their DPS line kind of go away from that here a little bit. Yeah, they played a little bit map 1, but it seems like they're okay playing other stuff, and the Mei will still definitely find value here on a map like Runasapi. But no, it's actually the Lucio. So that Lucio ban I was talking about coming in from Mouse5, coming in from WAY2THANUS now. And again, I think this is WAY2THANUS saying like, hey, we probably expect you guys to play the Malga here. So we're going to get rid of the Lucio and force you to play that Mizuki, and we're going to probably match you with it as well.
To be fair, it's not too bad of an idea, quite honestly. The Zarya opens back up. You no longer can place sound barrier for it. So like you said, if they do go out there with the Malga, well, it sucks to not have a sound barrier for cage fight. It sucks a lot more than not have it for a Graviton Surge. I'll tell you that much. But it is match point for WAY2THANUS here, hoping to close this one out quickly and make themselves that pure 500. Be 3-3. Mouse5, though, they want to get that first win. And to be fair, man, it feels like they're so close to doing it. But this right here is where they need to make this happen, because it's been close, but not close enough.
Yeah, it's been close this series, but like you said, not close enough. They haven't been able to get over the hump, which we talk about a lot being a thing that some teams really struggle with. It's just getting over that hump a lot of the times. And Mouse5, granted, we talked about the teams they've played this season. They haven't had a favorable start to the season at all. And coming into the night and during Frenzy, I said, hey, this is the one game that if you're looking to win, this is probably the one game that you think coming into it, you can realistically win. And you look at what we're seeing here. Zarya's from both sides, Reapers from both sides as well, but Performance showing us something a little bit different here with the Sierra and Hunter. Again, Sierra's been a pick that I think me and you have definitely don't expect to see that often, but when we do, it feels like they're always contributing a lot to a lot of teams.
Yeah, again, it feels like such an occasional pick, but it normally does find a good amount of value. I'm happy to see performance on it. We'll see if it can find some value here as well, as it is the Zarya's matching. And it's cool to see the Juno out here as well. Normally just a really simple substitute when you don't have that Lucio in there. But that's why they had to play so much more carefully in a scenario like this. But Dex right now, it's a war of attrition. Both teams poking out, not wanting to fully commit, but with Spot down, Mouse5 smells some blood in that water, are going to start taking that point the other way.
Yeah, and they're going to have to here. Again, you got to get off to a fast start. You really got to get off to a fast start right now if you're Mouse5. Take a big lead, but we always talk about on this map, this is a map where comebacks are more than not an inevitability here. But Mouse5, again, you lose one here early, you lose two here early, but just keep on pushing that bot as far as you can. You're going to get out right now, but keep going.
Yeah, and Bright Side Playtoys gets out alive, so all that charge still solidified. They may be chasing a little bit, but Playtoys shouldn't fall over. But now, unfortunately, Ducio in a weird spot, but that's a good TP from Pizza Pete to make sure that performance can't find the finish. But they find Playtoys anyway.
And look, it's just going back and forth. WAY2THANUS getting the lead here very quickly. Not that far into the map, though, so still a lot of time left in that time bank. But look at ultimates right now. Death Blossom about to be online here for Spot, and Overclock about to be online for Nino. It's going to be very important here that they find something with that here. But I like the pressure that WAY2THANUS is showing us right now. And again, that's been something that's been a constant thing for them throughout this entire series, applying pressure to Mouse5. And so far, I don't think they've been really good with handling it.
No, they haven't really so far. And now, Mouse5, they get a really good pick, and they stop. The forward bolts are coming through, just barely, by the way, within a meter. But now, Spa's in the back line. Well, I should say, yeah, they're kind of hanging all around as the grab gets thrown up by Hero. And I don't know what it ends up finding. Ducio falls over, but it feels like there's a big disconnection happening right now between both of these teams. As eventually, Consider Rush is going to force everybody around. The aggression is being kept up, and with Pizza Pete down, WAY2THANUS should be able to re-solidify. Nano trying their best to prove elsewise, but eventually will fall over as well.
Yeah, and again, right now, like Mouse5, I think they did the right thing there. They're trying to pull the bot away. However, the grab only finding Ducio, maybe not necessarily find all the value you're really looking for there, but you got rid of that. You got rid of the speed factor for both these two teams there, especially the speed factor for Mouse5. And with this composition, you need to be fast. You're going to see forward spawns be recapped here for WAY2THANUS. And again, you look at that time bank, a lot of time left here. And you have 3 ultimates coming online right now for both teams. However, Mouse5 has the bigger one with that grab. And realistically, no good counter to it. You could use Orbital Ray if you're Cameron for WAY2THANUS, but I don't like seeing that as an option.
Yeah, grab comes out, and there's not really any follow-up on this one. Now everyone is going to enforce themselves even further. Nano down early. You're going to invest here as you're going to hope Spa finds some more value, and they eventually will. But Dex, this has been rough these last couple of minutes.
It has, and the worst thing there is Mouse5 invested everything into that fight, and they don't even find a single pick. WAY2THANUS, yeah, they invested two ultimates in that one here, and they still have the ultimate here for performance. I mean, they're in such a better spot overall, and you're not that far away from another grab. But still, Hunter, this is a map where this lead right now for WAY2THANUS is not a comfortable lead. The only way it's comfortable is if they end the map.
Yeah, and now grab going to come through. It's going to catch him to Pizza Pete specifically. You get rid of the Reaper. And now WAY2THANUS are hoping to end this thing very quickly here.
Yeah, and every time I feel like we've seen performance, they always land the tracking dart shot here. But I think Mouse5 is kind of misplaying this. They're trying to flip the map here. I don't think that's the right way to do this.
It's not, and now Scattershot going to come through here. Nano going to partially go down as a result, and now they're going to keep pushing on forward, and Dex, I think this one might be done and dusted. Kitsune Rush solo on to the point as WAY2THANUS. They made the first 2 maps look super close, but they finished this one out in style. More than half the time bank remaining to now be 3-3 on the season.
Yeah, and again, if you're Mouse5, this shows that they have a lot of fight back in them. But WAY2THANUS, once they got control here, I talked about it. They like to push the aggression. They like to take space. They don't like to necessarily sit back and kind of take whatever you give them at times and kind of play that kind of interesting poke game that I think our friend Spectron would talk about, where, you know, you have the 2 teams that like to kind of sit there, poke each other out for a little bit, figure out what's going to be the plan of engagement. It seems like WAY2THANUS just says, oh, our plan of engagement, engage right now. We're already at your front door. Hell, we're at your back door. You just don't know it yet here. And that's what we saw constantly from WAY2THANUS here. Mouse5, though, again, like I said, unfortunate result here, but you look back at every other map before this one here, and you could realistically say they were 1 or 2 fights away from that map being theirs. They are building something here. They are. This is not the start to the season, especially with a third of their season now being done. You still have 10 more games left to go, and you still have to play a couple games of teams that came up from Expert here. This is a team that I think will find their stride here because they looked good tonight, but WAY2THANUS, I think how they play just always kind of put them on their toes and put them in uncomfortable spots.
It was consistently uncomfortable spots, and we saw this act where it was them constantly developing with the series as well, because it feels like going into that second map on New Junk City, they kind of knew the Zora was going to get matched, so they make the adjustment to the Ramatra. Doesn't work for those first couple of fights, but then you kind of see it progressively start to work more and more and more, and looks a lot better for them. So those big adjustments, those are important, and again, it's something that we have to see, because we've seen so many teams get adjusted to running things like the Juno, like the Mitsuki, but this was a pure Lucio and Kiri for the longest time during this series. It's something we don't get to see too often, which you can say whatever you want of whether, you know, that's a good thing or a bad thing. But in a scenario like this, having that flexibility for both these squads, it's great. And I hope Mouse5 can build off of this, but again, there is going to start becoming a limited amount of time to put yourself in that position to keep proving that.
And you have to think, for your Mouse5, you're still going to have to play some of them better teams here. You're only 5 games in now. You still have to probably play the likes of, like, I'll just look it up here. Like, you're going to have to probably play teams like the likes of Nightmare, like the likes of Extinction. Yeah, like, they still have to play Nightmare. They still have to play Extinction, Ex Oblivione. Like, they still have a lot of tough games ahead of them here. And Hunter, I look at the teams they've already played. They only have one more expert team left this season for them. That's next Wednesday against Team Missing, who's also getting off to a little bit of a struggle to start this season here. But still, I think they're building something here, which, granted, not the best thing to say, because if you're building something in Master Tier, it normally means you're probably fighting to stay in it. But I think this is definitely a team that, once they find their first win, much like what I said with the Fallen last week, once that team finds their first win, I think you're going to see a couple more come quickly after it.
I think so as well. I hope this team can find something to work with and get that momentum, because again, I think last season we got to see some success out of the expert teams that came up. At least 2 of them that did found some really good success, and I hope we get to see it from some of these teams as well. WAY2THANUS, I think, has already proven themselves very well, being 3-3 at this stage, but hopefully Mouse5 and Team Missing, they can keep proving that. We'll have to see. Before we quickly round out just results that went around the table, Amplify, speaking of Team Missing, did beat Team Missing 3-0. And we just had another one that literally just finished up. Dark Mode did beat Vivacity 3-0 as well. So we just have one game that's ongoing that's getting into a third map very shortly. Grimoire and Elemental Normal that are currently tied up. So that's definitely where we're sending y'all, as that game, I said, has every right to be close. And thus far, it's looking like it's going to be.
Yeah, and again, talking about that Dark Mode team, like I said, especially on Frenzy, this was their get-right game against Vivacity. Love Vivacity, love the org, love Unchanged, but that JBFC team from last year, which is the current core of Vivacity, they struggled for a majority of the season up until the very end, where they found wins to stay in Master Tier. They're going to need to start finding wins here. They found some already this season, which is a lot better compared to last season at this point. But you're going to need to start finding a little bit more here. Dark Mode, we talked about the talent. This was their get-right game, and hopefully you start to see a little bit more from them in the future. And Grimoire and Normal, we talked, like I talked about on Frenzy as well. If you're Grimoire, you needed to win games against teams like Elemental Normal here if you want to be considered like what they want to consider themselves as one of the best teams here, maybe top 5 in this region. And right now, they're getting off to a sluggish start here, but a win tonight would be huge for them.
Yeah, it definitely would be. For both these teams, it's really much needed. It's what we said on the desk earlier, how important it is for so many of these teams that are kind of near the lower part of the standings to get in better shape. But we've seen the craziest of comebacks in the past. Maybe we'll see it from one of these teams here as well. But like I said, we're going to send y'all over to watch that game. But I want to thank everybody for coming out today. Not for just this game, but also for the Frenzy. Obviously, Dex here for always joining me almost every single night. It's crazy that over a year later, later, we're still doing this, and it's so much fun and how it's expanded. And obviously, big thanks to Motneva and Hyper for being on the desk earlier, and then Luau for producing, and then KPJ for observing. I mean, this show, in the quality that it's on, would not exist without all of the amazing people that helped this out. So obviously, thanks to them. Thanks to y'all for coming out for this game. We'll be back tomorrow. We've got some action going on there because we have another big game going on between, I believe it's Nightmare and Amplify. Should be a lot of fun. It should be a banger, Dex, but we're going to send this thing away. Everybody have a good night. We'll be back tomorrow for some more Face of League action. Take care.